Hi everybody, welcome back to I Create For You. We are continuing with the Ghost Stories of Berks County by Charles Adams III. This is the book we're reading out of. This story is Witch's Hill. I just uploaded a video that showed we went on a little road trip to show you the area that we could best think we were at the right spot due to the description in the story. Mark's going to read the story. I'm going to sketch a witchy witch, and I have another article that I found when I was looking into this a little bit more that I'll read after my sketch is done. And away we go.
Personal research from May 1982. From the crest of the hill, which stretches between Windsor Castle and Virginville, the panoramic splendor of Berks County is at its finest. The light of a springtime sun illuminates forests and fields below, casting shadows from the farmhouses and barns in the deep valley. But for the box-like mobile homes that desecrate the vista, the view stretching 25 miles and beyond is of breathtaking picture postcard quality. This is the scene from atop this broad hill by day. When the sun retreats and the darkness tightens its quieting grip around the hill, it becomes a reviewing stand for the parades of nighttime splendor. The moon and stars dot the sky, meeting a horizon aglow with the distant moon and stars. Auroras of the metropolitan areas of Allentown to the east and Reading to the south. Clusters of pinhead lights from villages and towns and a occasional pair of tiny headlights can be discerned as a car winds silently along country roads, but the silence, that almost morbid silence, is what one remembers best about this hill at night. As the eyes need time to adjust from light to sudden darkness before night vision is attained, so must the ears be given time to become accustomed to the tranquility of the spot after being held captive by the mechanical drone of the engine of the car which transported the ghost hunter to the hill. So why go to this isolated spot far from any houses which could be called haunted? Why spend hundreds of words attempting to paint word pictures of a nondescript hill on just another quiet, dark spring night? There's method to all of this. It all becomes relevant when we discover that it is May 1st, or in German tradition, Walpurgisnacht. It is the night the witches come out to dance. And we are on the hill now, known for many, many years as Witches Hill in Windsor Township. The vigil atop this hill ended just past midnight, and as the evening breeze washed over the hillside, the ancient superstition and more contemporary stories were retold while awaiting the witches' party. The classic Walpurgisnacht tales emanate from the Rhine River Valley and have been traced by folklorists back many centuries after the region converted to Christianity. It is believed this pagan observance on May 1st was somehow retained. Walpurgis was known on the hilltops by villagers and the country folk who set bonfires and burned effigies of witches and other suspicious people in an effort to cleanse the region of the evildoers' activities. Perhaps the early German settlers in this section of the country or county brought with them the knowledge and appreciation of the curious customs, as the generation between these original settlers and their modern ancestors diluted many of these superstitions and practices. The traditions, such as Wapriksnacht, have been taken with less credulity and even scoffed at today. But even today, the story of this hill remains a fascinating link between Berks County's past and present. Other links are all around the hill. Keen eyes can look down from atop the hill and spot the hex signs on nearby every barn. Yeah, I've seen that. The hex highway of North Berks is a mile north on the ridge, and both the old and young of the area now simply known as Witches Hill, where the witches dance. The young are likely to call it
Uh-oh. Where is it?
simply Witches Hill, while the older generation.
Hex dance.
Okay.
Is that what it is? And it will cling to the dialectic hex
Dance. Okay, got
or,
it.
and then they say what it is in
Or
English.
witches dance hall. But monikers aside, its legend remains strong, and the legends custom a wide range of superstition. Thrill-seeking teenage boys will tell vulnerable teenage girls that they know of this hill near Windsor Castle, where the car engine mysteriously stalls conveniently near a shady grove just off the roadway. Or the old timers claim that no vegetation grows at one spot atop the hill. Bobbing lights are reported seen atop the hill and even on the treetops of the hill. In 1954, historian Arthur Graff wrote, "Years ago, after a storm, the wheat stalks were flattened in spots. The old men would say, 'Die Hex hin dort constant,' or the witches danced there." Perhaps the intrusion of the ghost hunters' party kept the witches from their revelry that particularly May 1st. Whatever, there were no visible, audible witches, but there was time and a perfect place to recall yet another strange and somehow beautiful piece of Pennsylvania German in Berks County folklore.
So that's that one. That's the end of that. So this is weird because I didn't know any of this stuff, and I grew up here, and those were the back roads I learned to drive on. And I've often seen that sign that we took a picture of that said Witchcraft Road. And I used to think, oh, that's a cool name. It's a cool name for a road, but I never knew the reason behind it. And so I was quite surprised when that story came in that book that we were reviewing. And I'm kind of glad that I was able to take you guys there to see. I mean, there's no real structures or anything to show, but yeah, there's a little bit of imagination there as to what actually could have went on. And it's just weird that, like, that this is a part of where I lived and I never really knew that kind of a story existed. That's why I'm kind of glad I came upon this. My mom used to always, she always used to get these books by Charles Adams. Now he's a local from around, um, I don't know, I don't remember where exactly he was from, but I'm thinking it was, Berks County area, because my mom and dad actually knew him. And so she really got into his books. She liked that kind of stuff. Excuse me. I just never really knew. I never read the books before, and I just came across one of my mom's books, and I thought, well, you know what? That'd be interesting to see what people have to say about the things that are going on in my backyard that I grew up with and didn't really pay attention to or know much of. And I'm glad I can share that with you guys. So there's my witchy witch. She's not wearing the traditional hat, but she's probably got a black robe on. So I will bring this down here, and that's her. That's her garb. And it was said that in the story, that one of the stories, I wasn't really paying attention too much to what he was talking about in that one there, because I kind of remember this other article, and which I'm going to read now, that they would hold rituals, and they would cast spells on people in the area, and it's just a strange thing. And in our area, I don't know if you might want to Google this one too. There are a lot of hex signs, like they said in that article, that the book, on the barns, they're around hex signs, hand painted, and you'll see them throughout the countryside still. It's a part of the Dutch tradition to have these hex signs up, and each design has a certain meaning. I remember growing up, some of them, we used to visit this place called Roadside America, and it used to have, where they had a miniature railroad station built of all America, and you could watch the model go around the different areas. But they used to have in their gift shop the hex signs, and they used to have all different kinds that would say love, and you could give them as gifts. They would give them gifts as gifts of wedding gifts for love, prosperity, fertility, all different types of things. And they were a traditional art form. And to this day, if you go to the countrysides out here, the back roads and everything, and see the barns, you will see these hex signs on. I didn't get any on our road trip. But yeah, they also have in Kutztown, they have a festival, and that's a big thing there too, because there's a lot of Pennsylvania Dutch there who paint the signs and everything. But here's Miss Witchy for our Witch's Hill. And I'm going to read this other article that I printed out. And it says, this is another article by Charles Adams, and this is him talking. I know nothing more about Robert Baker Bamford other than he scurried about Berks County interviewing interesting people and wrote a daily feature in the Reading Times in the 1920s based on his ramblings. The paper's editor described his work as a new, original, highly refreshing style. One reference noted that he was a native son of Berks, and that upon graduating from Boston Tech, he returned to his roots and began his writing career. Bamford collected tales of past and present lifestyles throughout the county, and he did so in what was, in retrospect, a pivotal time in our history. The nation was rising from the Great War and sinking into the Great Depression. The age of spiritualism was long gone, and many traditions and superstitions of the past were shunted aside in the modern world of the early 20th century. But Bamford dug deeply into the past as he wandered the county's countryside. Each entry of the series was headlined by such references as following the East Penn branch, out past the Poor Farm, on the road to Pikeville. Those were just some examples. As I pored over his work, the subheadlines of the feature were tantalizing. Just a couple of them were "The Last Hours of a Mass Porker" in Amity Township, and he believes hoof of mule is getting larger in the Ole Valley. Each of Bamford's entries provide a valuable glimpse into that era's people and places. A wow moment for me came under the heading of "In the Domain of Windsor Castle," as in Windsor Castle, Windsor Township. The now 90-year-old story harkened back many more decades and presented an interesting take on a subject that was always on the shadowy edge of folklore, Witch's Hill. Situated on one of the highest rises of a ridge, roughly between Virginville and Windsor Castle, Witch's Hill had long been considered a gathering spot for witches in the earliest years of the settlers' habitation of the area. Less than 2 miles from Windsor Castle, there was, until about 50 years ago, a piece of unused land which all the countryside believed to be the trysting place of witches, Bamford noted. All the malevolent spirits of these parts were supposed on certain nights to hide themselves thither, and to dance round and measured tread. That trysting place became known locally as Witch's Hill. Some folks added another level of mystery by professing that when not trysting on the hill, the witches were residing in a deep nearby ravine known as Witch's Hollow. But to the locals, the hill bore what they believed was the most convincing evidence in proof of this. Bamford wrote, "There could be shown the great circular track made by their feet, not merely bare of grass, but worn down to the ground. The most reliable of our historians report seeing the ring at the time it was falling into disuse." And again, this item, written in 1925, hearkened to less enlightened times. "The connection between the existence of these witches and sickness is close and clear enough," Bamford continued. "It was the chief work of the diabolic hags to throw spells upon folks whom they disliked, whom their friends disliked, and upon whomsoever happened at hand when they were in a foul temper. These spells resulted in the most lamentable kinds of sickness, and it was commonly believed that the best treatment was to have the evil spirit cast out, rather than to swallow pills and physics. Those spells, those witches, and that hill are lost in time, but can still be found in such tangible things as the street signs that mark the legendary location of Witch's Hill, a road named Witchcraft." That was the one that I took you upon, Witchcraft Road. So it's very interesting to know that all that happened right in our backyard. It only took a few minutes for us to get there from where we live. Like I said, those were the back roads I learned to drive on, and believe me, they were crazy back roads, as you can see in the video. And my husband said I had a lead foot, but you know, that's where I learned how to drive, and I guess that's my dad had a lead foot too. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this story. We have pretty many more to go through, and hopefully we'll get to a lot more places to do preview videos like we did for this one. It's very interesting. I mean, you could probably Google and get more on Witch's Hill and Witch's Hill of Pennsylvania, or Witchcraft Road and Berks County, PA. And if you do, share what you found out in the comments, and maybe we could all learn a little more than what I found. I don't know what the next story is going to be yet, because this one was a bugger to even be able to get out on such a beautiful day. So we kind of were stuck on this one for a little bit. But I will definitely be looking through in the next few days and see what other stories I can come up with and road trips that we can take, so that you guys can get an idea of what these places look like. And I mean, of course, they're pretty well changed up right now, but this was an old story, but you still get the concept. Just want to thank you for coming along. Hope you liked the story. Hope you liked the video before it. I'll try not to be a speed racer next time. It'll take a little bit more time, but you know, just before that, there was a guy crawling up my butt, and he decided to zoom past us as we were recording, so I had to stop that video and start a whole new one, or we would have had us going on to Witchcraft Road from Hawes Road. Anywho, please give me a thumbs up if you like this kind of stuff, or if you like this story or anything. And please tell your friends, share, comment, and help me get my platform out there. It's very interesting stuff, and he's done so many. It says in this article, Charles Addams he's the author of more than 35 books on ghosts and hauntings in the mid-Atlantic states. So, his name is Charles Addams III. So you might want to look him up too. I have quite a few other books, and we just finished the Haunted Pet series, and hopefully I can find more of those also that I can do on my own without the help of my husband, because I don't want these to be really long videos, but I wanted them to be entertaining and informative also. Thank you for subscribing. I'm close to 50. I only need one more. I don't know how many I need to get to do live, but I would really like to do a live with you guys. So hopefully you enjoyed this and you'll be back for more. Thank you, and see you in the next one. Bye-bye.